So, Nick, right from the top,
Let's go.
you know, we talked about this. We're like, should we start with BSD and Dariush and work our way up?
Nah.
Like, nope. Let's talk about the fights that everybody wants to hear about. And not that people don't want to see and know about BSD versus Benny Dariush, but Islam versus Jack is just so monumental. This is such an important fight for the UFC, for the 170 division, but also for the 155 division, and quite frankly, for Islam Makhachev's legacy.
The pound for pound
Jack's.
rankings.
Exactly. So much is on the line here. So we got to start with what most people, or what is most important to most people. Give me your pros and cons for Jack and Islam, and then tell me who you're taking.
This is the main event of 2025.
Yeah.
And trust me, everybody thought it was going to be Khamzat versus DDP. This is the one we got to watch for. Jack Della Maddalena, you know, he's the champion and he's the underdog. So I want to start with him because that's interesting to me. When you've got a smaller guy moving up into another champion's division, and now he's all of a sudden the favorite, it shows you the level that Islam's at. But we also can't sleep on Jack. Jack is such a high-level fighter. And some of the things that stick out to me, obviously he's a great striker. He will have the striking advantage over Islam. Obviously his takedown defense is high level, but he hasn't faced a guy quite like Islam yet. So that's really going to be put to the test, and we're going to see where his level is for that. And then the other thing I noticed as I was going back watching his fights, his ability to control the cage, or at least where he is in the cage, which is inside of the black lines.
Yeah.
He loves to stay in the center, and we've heard it for years and years now. When you're fighting a guy like Islam, when you're fighting a pressure guy who loves to take you to the cage and bring you down, you cannot get anywhere near the cage. As soon as your back foot is behind that black line in the cage, you're now 1 to 2 steps away from being on the cage.
Yep.
And a guy like Islam will put you there every time you give him the opportunity. So Jack, if you go back and watch his fights, one thing that we've seen out of him is he's very good at maintaining the center of the octagon, even when he's defensive. So when somebody starts to pressure forward with him on striking or something like that, yes, he does move back probably 1 step, but then shortly after that, it's good head movement. He'll put 1 or 2 shots just to keep you busy and maybe stunt your blitz a little bit. And then he's angling off some way or another. So I think that's very important for him. And what I've noticed is he's made leaps and bounds as far as his skill in that realm in recent time. Like, Jack is one of those champions that is getting better day by day on the job as the champion. He's able to go and make drastic improvements in his skills and drastic improvements in places that we assumed he might have holes in between fights and in between camps as the champion, which shows the kind of level he's at, but also he's not resting on his laurels. He's going hard. He still sees himself as this hungry guy. And I think the fact that he's an underdog in his own division where he's the champ is only going to fuel fire even more to go prove something to this smaller contender who's coming up. So when you break down the X's and O's, yes, Islam has a lot of ways to get this fight to the ground. He also knows how to finish fights on the feet. I wouldn't bank on Islam winning this fight on the feet. If he does get it done, it's going to be on the ground. But Jack has the opportunity to keep this fight long and keep a guy who isn't exactly a change levels and blast double type of takedown artist, but more of a close the distance and get you to the cage before he starts to trip or tie you up and get you down. Those two styles are very different. And I would almost venture to say, with Jack's ability to keep the center of the cage, being a blast double leg takedown artist, or somebody who likes to, change levels off of a combination and grab the leg and drag them down, that would almost work better against Jack than somebody who has to fully close the distance, because like I said, he's able to move laterally and angle off with his defense, which usually turns the angle that the person was going to shoot in on off, and now they don't have their shot anymore. Again, Islam is buttoned up every way you want to look at it in grappling, so he will be able to improvise and come up with things. Obviously, the chain wrestling is where he usually finds his takedowns. He'll show something, chain it a couple different ways. Now he's got you by the cage, and then that's where he can do his best work. But Jack does really well with changing levels. As soon as he does see his opponent bring their head down or change their level, he keeps a high guard, but it's not a full defensive high guard, right? Like, most of the time when you see somebody who's fully focused on defense and blocking their head, they aren't able to throw strikes back. But when you watch Jack change levels and he matches their head, he will also be ready to throw strikes, and he's very good at throwing inside of those sort of chaotic moments. So I really do want to see how Islam breaks through the barrier and through the ranges against Jack, because if he doesn't, I think Jack is going to run away with the fight early on. I think the first 2 rounds are going to go Jack's way, regardless of whether he wins or not. Islam's not the type that's going to show all of his cards early on. He's going to try to figure you out, break you down slowly, and then find his way inside, path to victory, high percentage. That's what he does. But if Jack can frustrate him early by not being anywhere near him, and then only coming in to land his combinations, but doing short combinations. So once you do get inside that boxing range, it's 2 or 3 strikes, and then we're pushing off, we're creating frames, we're angling off. That type of stuff can work. As soon as you start to get comfortable in the pocket with Islam, that's when he exchanges a couple of your shots for a grip on your body, and that's what you have to avoid. So Jack obviously knows that. He's got the right people in his camp. Volk flew over there to help him out.
Craig Jones, he's got a really good
Hickman,
camp. Yeah.
The Hickman boys, all of them are doing what they do best, and they proved that with Volk 1, they can at least give a difficult night to Islam Makhachev. Now you're taking a totally different body type, a much larger guy, and an even better striker than Volkanovski in JDM. That's going to make for a very exciting fight. And yeah, I can't wait to hear what your thoughts are, because I was watching it. There's so much to break down between these 2 guys, but I figured I could give you that.
Do you want to reserve your prediction until you hear my thoughts, or do you want to spill the beans right now?
You go first, and then I'll give my prediction.
Okay, so love what you said about Jack controlling the center of the octagon. That's really important here. He has pretty good takedown defense, almost 68-70% takedown defense. Now, generally, people who have 68 or 70% takedown defense, that translates into about 25 or 30% when you face somebody like Islam Makhachev.
Right.
So is Islam going to get Jack to the ground? I think we're pretty safe to say, yeah, we're going to see that at some point. Mm-hmm. Jack's really good at getting off angle. If he can frustrate Islam by changing angles and, utilizing striking to do damage, change angles, reset, as you said, he can start to win the first couple of rounds, and then Islam is no longer working on his time schedule. Now he's working against the clock.
Yeah.
And, he's down 2 rounds, and now he's got to get a little bit more urgent and desperate about his takedowns.
Right.
All of that is very true. Jack has a higher knockdown rate.
Yeah.
He also has a higher striking output. So there's a lot of things that favor Jack Della Maddalena, but to me, this comes down to the intangibles.
Yeah.
Islam Makhachev, he just knows how to win a fight.
Yeah.
And for me, Jack, not that Jack Della Maddalena doesn't, and I think he has a beautiful story, right? How many guys do you know? You know more fighters than I do because you train with them every day. How many do you know on the local circuit that lose their first 2 fights and then they just show up once a week just to hang out with the boys and train, but they're like, yeah, this isn't the career path for me.
Right.
So, the fact that he dropped his first 2 fights and won 18 straight all the way to becoming the UFC champion shows the grit, character, and determination of Jack. So I don't want to discount that.
Right.
Islam's in for a long night, but I think Islam Makhachev is the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and I think it's for good reason.
Yeah.
I think his striking is improving with every fight. I think that he's not Bilal Muhammad in the way that he takes people down. He's not just shooting doubles and singles, which Jack was able to defend. He's really good with the trips. He's really good with the off-bouncing. He's really good with the body locks. I think we do see him eat up minutes on the ground. We're talking 90% control time once Islam gets to the ground. Most of 91%, I think it is. To me, it's just too much. It's too big of a mountain for Jack to surmount. I do like Islam by decision.
Okay.
I think Jack is tough. If Islam is to get a finish, it's going to be in the 4th or 5th by submission. But I do think Jack sees the final bell. I think he loses a close fight, 3 rounds to 2. Islam Makhachev, unanimous decision, and new, and not champ, but double champ.
2 division champ. Yeah, well, I like the prediction, and the smart money is on Islam. He's the betting favorite going into things. So I get where you're coming from, but when I'm watching these 2 fight, of course, I gave you a little bit of my pros for Jack, and I could sit here and give you my pros for Islam, but I would sound like I'm regurgitating the same talking points everybody talks about. Yeah, he needs to close the distance, get inside, trip him.
Clinch, all that stuff,
yeah. Islam needs to do what Islam does best, and he will win this fight. But there are a couple of things that I think really stand out for Islam, and he could actually shock people if he were to find it. So I was talking about how Jack's head movement is very good. He's able to slip punches well. That's how he's able to close distance on fighters and stay in range to land primarily his hands, but he'll throw kicks as well. He's very, very good at doing that. But what I noticed is in boxing, we see it all the time. Guys will slip and go very low on either side if they're trying to avoid a punch. And for good reason. It's a good technique. It will get you out of the way. But remember, you don't have to miss a punch by a mile. You just have to miss it by an inch, right? And if you miss it by a mile, then you're doing a whole lot more calorie burns to get yourself back to center than if you would have just missed it by 1 inch. So I worry that Jack is going to wind up getting caught by a kick from Islam. Now, we know Islam can kick pretty well. Look at the Volkanovski knockout. And Volkanovski is a shorter guy, and it wasn't for him. It wasn't that he was slipping too aggressively and got caught. Islam placed a kick perfectly on him. But what I noticed with Jack is he does wind up, he'll throw like a 1-2 and then pivot hard, slip down, and his head goes down there. Now, it's hard to land a switch kick right there in that moment. But Islam could do it. If he picks up on that read and he's able to time that right, he could make Jack pay on the feet with a kick like that. And if you do that to a guy, if you go land a significant strike on a guy who knows that he's got a grappling disadvantage but believes he's got a full advantage in the striking, you can actually kill their confidence and make them a little bit gun shy, make them a little bit more hesitant. And that's exactly what Islam wants. He wants his opponent to be freezing and second guessing every move and every decision he makes. And if that happens, your prediction is going to be right on the money. In fact, Islam might be able to find a submission. But I just don't know how Islam is going to get inside on a guy like Jack who knows exactly how to stay away and keep his opponents at bay. He's also very good at being a wiry, difficult person to get a hold of when he does wind up against the cage. Now, Bilal was able to get him down a couple of times up against the cage, and I don't believe Bilal's the grappler that Islam is, so he can't afford to make that mistake again or many times against Islam. But we did see some pretty good action defensively up against the cage from Jack. And then usually a couple seconds after, he's fighting off the takedowns, he'll slide an underhook in, he'll start to create a little bit of space with his shoulder, maybe put it against the chest, and then soon after that, he's circling off. He's very good at that. But it's a little bit more complex when you've got Islam chaining takedowns on you. So, those are the things Islam needs to watch out for. Jack obviously has a lot to watch out for, but he also does a lot of things really well. I'm going to go against you on this one. I've got Jack Della Maddalena winning this one. Islam is such a tough guy to knock out. Unless you just land a bomb, you're not going to put him to sleep. I don't see Jack knocking him down hard enough to go submit him. So I think Jack Della Maddalena wins this fight via decision. I think it's going to be a tough fight for both, but I think Jack wins the early parts. Islam comes in strong in round 3. Possibly we see the 5th round being the deciding factor. And I honestly think that we go 48-47, Jack Della Maddalena, and still your champion.
Very interesting. You're going against Creatine Makhachev. That's the new what's that mythical fighter unlocked?
Right.
Apparently Islam Makhachev has now found creatine for the first time, and he's looking pretty jacked.
Yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, I'm taking Jack for a lot of reasons, and those are the reasons I'm taking him.
Okay. All right. Well, let's jump into the co-main, Valentina versus Zhang Weili.
Okay.
Valentina, if you go back in the history of this channel, I don't know that I've ever picked against Valentina Shevchenko.
Probably not.
She is one of the most lethal strikers that we've ever seen in the, period, really, but certainly for the women. Her Muay Thai is phenomenal. She really came along with her grappling as she, progressed with her career. Actually spent a decent amount of time out here at our same jiu-jitsu gym with Draculino at Gracie Baja Webster. And, kind of developed some of her skill there and really became a submission ace as well. Valentina, she's proven a lot of people wrong over the last couple of fights. Mm-hmm. Just, once she lost to Alexa Grasso, okay, Valentina's in her mid-30s. She was great. She is great, but she's, like we all do, decline physically in your athletic performance in your mid to late 30s. But then she came right back and got her belt back, and she seems to be just as good as ever. Zhang Weili, has looked very good really high-level lethal striker, a lot of output, significantly more strikes landed per minute than Valentina, actually.
Wow.
The interesting thing to me is going to be how she looks in the new weight class. She's always been a very muscular gal, so I do expect her, just kind of like Islam Makhachev, to be fully filled out. I think we're going to see the biggest, strongest Zhang Weili. I don't know. Give me your thoughts on it first, and then I'm going to give you my prediction.
Yeah, so Valentina, it's hard to bet against a girl like that. She's so good everywhere. But I might get some pushback on this, but I believe Valentina in some ways is a one-dimensional fighter in that she wins her fights doing what she does so well, and people just can't figure out how
just
to
high-level Muay Thai.
Right. Think about Hamzat. He does the same thing every time, all the way down to pretty much the same takedown. He's not even showing you a variety. He's just doing the same thing, and nobody can stop it. Now, Valentina's is different. She does it more on the feet. It's more of a Muay Thai cadence, right? She's bouncing that lead leg, always ready to kick, always ready to throw a 2-3 usually. That's what she likes to throw. As soon as somebody crashes, she puts a 2-3 down and then
switch kicks.
Maybe a switch kick or something. She's very good at that. But what happens with Valentina, and later in her career when we started to see her lose and in tougher fights, if she loses control of the fight, right? If she loses control of the pace of the fight, or if the opponent is more chaotic and just brings a wild fight to her, she seems to keep it all under control and composed, but she does wind up getting a little bit flustered at times. And when that happens, that's when you have to exploit her and you have to go after her. Zhang knows that she's going to have a speed advantage and probably a one-shot KO advantage, right? If anybody's going to be able to land one significant strike that rocks the other one, I believe it'll be Zhang.
Yeah. I mean, Valentina, who was it that Valentina just switch kick knocked out?
Oh, God. Jessica Ai. There you go.
Right, yeah.
Shout
Thanks,
out Chris.
Yeah.
Shout out Chris. But yeah, so obviously Valentina can do it, and her kicks are heavier than any punch she can throw or any punch that Zhang could throw. But I believe that the speed will be the clearest advantage for Zhang, and if she's able to use her athleticism and her youth to get around and fluster Valentina, make it ugly. Every time she goes in for her beautiful Muay Thai, put a hand in her face.
Yeah.
You go try to tie up with Valentina. Now, most of the time when you see somebody go tie up with Valentina, they wind up getting judo tossed and she lands on top of them in a great position, side control or something.
The crucifix, she loves that.
Loves it, and she's very good at it. But Zhang is also a great scrambler. She can move well. She doesn't just get taken down. Usually, if she does wind up in a position where she's about to get taken down, she can find a reversal or find a way to fall, and with enough control of her opponent to at least create some space. So I believe Valentina is going to have to win this fight primarily on the feet at her pace and her range. If it goes into boxing range, we know that Valentina's hands aren't quite as clean and her head movement isn't quite as good as some other girls in the UFC. She relies more on the Muay Thai stance, a little bit more tall, a little bit more rigid, and relies on the hands to kicks combinations.
Yeah.
If Zhang can get beyond the legs, think about Ilia Topuria. He has yet to throw a kick over anybody's waistline in the UFC, and it's working out pretty good for him. So if you can get inside with your heavy hands and avoid the kicking range, now you've taken Valentina's arguably her two best tools away, and you've forced her into a more hands striking match.
Yeah.
I think that would be beneficial for Zhang.
Yeah, she's not as good hands wise as Zhang is.
No, and or head movement, right? Usually when you're picking your martial arts that you want to go with, whether you go, I want to be a BJJ and a Muay Thai guy. Okay, your takedowns aren't going to be so great, and your head movement and your hands aren't going to be so great. But if you mix that up with the wrestler boxer guy, his kicks aren't going to be so great, and maybe his bottom game or his submissions aren't going to be so good, but he can take you down and he can land his hands. So it's a trade-off. You got to pick your weapons and bring them into your arsenal and fight with them
with
to
what
the best
you got.
of your
Fill the
abilities.
gaps the best you can.
Exactly. So I think that Zhang's got a real opportunity here to come in a little bit heavier than she usually is, a little bit more powerful, probably with a little bit better gas tank, and also the youth is just going to probably play a role. I've never picked against Valentina. I don't think you have either. But this time, I just think there's something going on. And I think Weili Zhang wouldn't have left 115 if she didn't have a good idea that she could go get that 125 belt. I think Valentina Shevchenko, she's done it all. She's got the rubies around an entire brand new UFC belt. She's been there, done that. I believe she's the greatest, most skilled female fighter of all time. But everybody's day comes to an end. And I think Weili Zhang gets it done. I'm going to go decision.
So actually, I'm going to take Weili as well.
Yeah.
For the first time going to pick against Valentina. And I'm a Valentina fan. I always have been. You know, she's an excellent fighter. I mean, really fun to watch. But you talk about getting caught up in the chaos.
Yeah.
And if there's anybody that can create the chaos, it's Zhang Weili. I personally believe that Zhang Weili was involved as 50% of what was the most exciting women's fight of all time.
Agreed.
When she fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
Great fight.
So that to me is the stick. Maybe there's something I'm missing, but that to me sticks out as the most entertaining female fight in the history of the UFC.
Oh, yeah.
And she came out on top of that fight.
She was a dog.
Valentina looked like, if you've ever seen, we're coming up on Joanna, we're coming up on Christmas time. If you've ever seen the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, Jingle All the Way.
Great movie.
Dementor, the guy that was trying to get the, who was it, Turbo Man,
Yeah,
right?
Turbo Man.
The Turbo Man doll. He had the big brain.
Yeah.
That's what Joanna looked like at the end of that fight.
Virtually identical.
Virtually identical.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think that Zhang Weili is going to create enough chaos that she's going to be able to fluster Valentina a little bit. Couple that into the fact that I think there's going to be ever so slightly like a half step slower Valentina than we've ever seen. Because I mean, so the lady's pushing 40 years old. I mean,
Right.
she's phenomenal, but we all have our day, and I think her day is coming.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see it in this fight more than we've ever seen it before. I think Zhang Weili, I like decision as well.
Yeah.
But it's going to be pretty clear cut, 4 rounds to 1. Zhang Weili, clear cut unanimous decision victory.
Yeah, it feels like a great title fight, and I like the fact that the main and co-main are both dominant champions leaving their belts and moving up to go challenge the seemingly the toughest person that they could possibly pull in the champion above them. So I think it's a great fight. I really do think that the UFC pulled all the stops out for this UFC MSG card. I'm happy with it.
Well, it's not like Zhang Weili can't go back down and just get her old belt back if she loses. So.
Easy. Anytime she wants it, she can go back to 115.
Shade to Mackenzie Dern, but like, you know.
Let's be real.
Let's get real here. With Islam, he's in a little bit more of a, I don't know. I mean, that's interesting. You know, what happens if Islam... Zhang, I think she just goes back down. That's pretty clear cut. If Islam loses, what happens? You know?
And before we do it, because next up is some welterweights. So obviously, I'm not trying to put any bad juju on the fight, but if somebody were to back out of the main event, it feels to me like the only other guy, including a former champion in Leon Edwards, the only guy that could step in on short notice would be Sean Brady.
Yeah, that's the guy. Sean Brady is the backup fighter, probably.
Right.
Is anybody else weighing in for this one? We probably should have checked.
I don't think so, but you know, you never know. They kind of keep it under wraps anyways. They let us know, or we watch the weigh-ins, and then you get to see who weighed in.
It wouldn't have made sense to with the how stacked the main card is at 170.
Right.
So yeah, I mean Morales, he's phenomenal, but it's not proven yet to step into a title fight. No. Leon Edwards 2-fight skid. Carlos Prates just got back on a win streak. Right. So. Yeah, I think Sean Brady is the guy. Yeah. But the question is,
but Jack and Islam are both showing up to this fight.
Yes. Let's not put any bad juju on that. Brady versus Morales.
Great fight.
Really, really interesting fight. Morales is like he's got the workings of a future star. You know, to be that good, that young, that type of fighting style. You know, the way the UFC is moving, they really love high-level knockout artists, and he's certainly that. That's who they put their marketing dollars behind. Sean Brady is as good of a jiu-jitsu ace as there is. Right. Who did he beat in jiu-jitsu? Yeah, I think it was maybe Craig Jones. It
was somebody impressive. Yeah,
like really impressive that he shouldn't have beaten. And there was like a UFC event where it's probably not Craig, it's probably somebody else. But I remember somebody extremely high level. Suffice it to say, Sean Brady beat them in a jiu-jitsu match, a pure jiu-jitsu match.
Very high level.
You know, Morales has the higher finish rate, higher knockdown rate, younger, strong, big, everything. He has never faced somebody with the grappling ability of Sean Brady. Right. Now, he's got good takedown defense, but that was against lesser opponents. Yeah. Can he stop the grappling onslaught of Sean Brady? That's the question.
You know, I think if Michael Morales would have fought Sean Brady a year ago, I would have probably put my money on Michael Morales to win, because I thought Brady was starting to leave some of the grappling behind and look to trade with people. Yeah. And that's just not his MO. It's never going to be what wins him a title. It's never going to be what wins him fights. Now, he's dealing with a tough guy. Michael Morales stands out as a hot prospect with a ton of potential at 170, which I'll say right now is the most stacked division.
Yeah, no question.
You've got Jack Della Maddalena, great champion on a huge win streak. Yeah. You've got several former champions sitting in the wings at 170. You've got multiple undefeated top contenders, and Michael Morales is sitting at the top of that. And also, don't forget to mention 2 guys at 155 that are 1 and 2 in the pound-for-pound list that are looking to insert themselves into 170.
And we haven't even talked about, Ian Gary and Shavkat Rakhmonov. They're not even on this card to be discussed.
Exactly. So we've got a ton of people at 170. I believe it's the most stacked division, but Morales is picking up a lot of steam. Now, this is a major jump in competition for him, but it's deserving. He's ready for this level of fighter. But Sean Brady knows how to win fights. He knows how to win rounds, and we saw a dog out there last time he was out. I believe that will give him the confidence. It's going to be sort of a similar theme with the BSD thing later on. But I believe Sean Brady understands where he can win this fight and where he definitely will lose this fight if he doesn't get control of it. Morales is very athletic. He hits apparently really hard. It seems like he fills that frame out perfectly. In fact, I would assume he'll go to 185 at some point because he's tall.
He's big.
He's young. He's only going to get bigger. But Brady does have the ability to take the fight to the ground, and he's done it against more difficult opposition. Now, if Morales is the next future champion, then we should probably see him get a highlight reel KO over Sean Brady because of the advantage he will have on the feet. But I do see a couple of things in his game that worry me about him winning this fight against Sean Brady. And one thing I've seen Morales do a lot is because he's such an athletic guy, he can utilize his movement and his footwork to his best abilities, right? And he loves to jump in and throw some heavy strikes. But usually when his opponent blitzes towards him with some sort of offense, he gets a little tall, he moves straight back in a line. And if you wind up towards the cage, like we were saying earlier, with a guy like Sean Brady, he will make you pay for it. This is a 3-round fight. Michael Morales cannot afford 3 or 4 or 5 minutes on the ground. If he does, he's definitely increasing the chances of getting submitted or just getting exhausted. And again, if you're that athletic, dynamic mover, you need to be able to have your wheels as fresh as possible, or you're going to start becoming flat-footed and the wrestler will be able to trip you or take you down even easier. Yeah. So this fight to me is a really fun one. Keep an eye on it. We're kind of past that point now where it's grappler versus striker because everybody's good at everything.
Yeah.
But this one does sort of feel like that. Sean Brady knows he's not going to stand and trade with Morales all night. And Morales knows I better not let this guy get on top of me or else I'm going to be suffering my first loss. So I think this is a great fight. At first, I was probably leaning towards Morales, but again, I like the confidence of Sean Brady. He also understands if he doesn't win this fight, he is forever going to be a journeyman at 170, and he just can't live with that. So beat the young guy. I think he wins via decision. I don't think he's going to submit Morales, but in 3 rounds, I think he can eat up enough clock in the first and second rounds to make Morales get a little bit crazy in that 3rd round. It'll probably be an exciting 3rd round with some wild stuff being thrown, but I see Sean Brady winning this fight, unanimous decision.
Yeah, that when I woke up this morning preparing for this, this was the only fight that I hadn't fully made my mind up on yet. I had all my other predictions prior after watching the tape and everything. And I could sit here and legitimately make a case for both. Yeah. Here's the thing. I just keep coming back to, because I was, but we have these inner dialogues with ourselves, right? It's like, oh, wait, Stephen, you got to freaking pick somebody because, we got to turn the cameras on at some point. I just keep coming back to the John Silva versus Diego Lopez match. And Michael Morales, I think, has a really bright future.
For sure.
And I think John Silva was in many ways winning that fight, but he just got caught by a veteran, who knew what he was doing, spinning elbow. Sean Brady, I think this is going to be an example of one of those scenarios where we almost are ready to anoint a guy just a touch too soon.
Yeah.
Not that Michael Morales is not going to be a future champion and that he's going to be a big star in the division, but Sean Brady's a dog.
Yeah.
He's tough. He's a veteran. He knows how to win fights. I think that Sean Brady is going to be able to find those takedowns. And we can say, yes, Morales has great takedown defense. But just like we said earlier, it's Jack Della Maddalena has great takedown defense at almost 70%.
Right.
But he's never faced a grappler like Islam Makhachev. This is one of those scenarios. I think that Sean Brady is going to be able to get Morales down, and I think he's going to realize a whole new level of skill in grappling that he's never felt or experienced, maybe not even in the training room.
Yeah.
And I like Sean Brady actually by second round submission.
Oh, wow.
I think he's going to be able to get him down, find his positioning, and wear Morales out a little bit and get that submission. It's going to be a great learning lesson for Morales. He's going to come back strong and have a great 2026. And who knows? He puts himself right back in the queue. He's very young, very skilled, but still also very raw.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm taking Sean Brady.
Yeah, and Sean he's kind of in that position. His back's against the wall because it feels very much like a changing of the guard is happening at 170. You know, if you go look at like the active win streaks right now at 170, you know, just a couple years ago it was Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, Leon Edwards, all the guys that we got really comfortable knowing, and now they're all gone. And it's Shavkat and Brady and Morales and all Prates, all these guys are coming in, and it feels like, all right, you're all getting your former champions, your former title contenders, do your thing, and you'll steal that spot, and we'll basically have a brand new top of the 170 division. But Brady, he still feels like, no, I'm in that next wave. Don't worry. I've been here a little bit longer than the rest of them, but I'm still in that next wave, and I'm still going to become champion. So, yeah, I believe Sean Brady knows his back's against the wall because as far as the division being so stacked, if he loses this fight, it's going to be really hard to go back on a 2 or 3 fight win streak with the log jam of all the people and top contenders there, plus the marketable guys. I mean, like you said, Morales is very marketable. Prates, smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, he's very marketable. The UFC could definitely do something with that. And then, of course, you've got Shavkat, who people think is probably one of the most skilled 70 fighters in the world. Islam's moving up. So we've got so much going on at 170. But if Sean Brady were to go out there and lose this fight, he would knock himself down out of the top 5 ranks, start to look at things like getting back in the win column. And that's something, you know, I don't think he wants to live with. I believe his confidence is at an all-time high, and he probably spent this camp figuring out ways to close the distance on a taller guy so he can get inside and do what he does best, which is submit.
A loss at 170 right now puts you 2 years out from a title shot at the earliest.
For sure.
So for a 24, 25-year-old like Michael Morales,
no worries.
Okay, no worries. For somebody of Brady's age, you know, it's kind of like you just blew your opportunity to fight for a title unless something weird shakes out and you get a last-minute call.
Right.
I'm going to hit the bathroom real quick. Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I feel like Fletcher Reed from Liar Liar. Would the court be willing to grant me a short bathroom break?
Right. Now that's a throwback
I did
right
not beat the hell out of myself in the bathroom though, he did. So let's stick at and my voice. That's, you know, truth be told, I'm having to chug water because my voice is still not 100%.
Hey, we're leaps and bounds better than when you were about 6 weeks ago.
Somebody needs to call Guinness because I think I may be breaking a world record for the longest case of laryngitis in human history.
Justin Bieber didn't have to even cancel his concert tour that long, right?
And so, I mean, it's probably making it worse by continuing to yap all day, which is what I do for my day job as well as the podcast. So
you don't get a break on 322 fight week.
I definitely do not get a break on that. Maybe I'll take a break as we get towards the end of the year, and you know, by
some of these fight nights are hurting.
So maybe we'll get Chris back in the chair here.
Don't tempt him with a good time. All right, Leon Edwards, huh?
Prates Edwards. Okay, so you and I talked a little bit about this one before the fight, and I was surprised by your thoughts. So I think we may differ again here.
All right. So who's up first, me or you?
To me, I'll go first. So to me, Carlos Prates is just one of those really exciting guys. We talked about Morales being raw. Prates is one of the most raw fighters at 170 who's meaningful.
Right.
You know, you have a lot of raw guys outside of the top 15, but as far as like meaningful fighters who still have a way to develop, I think Prates is top of the heap for
guys
that.
who will have to learn on the job, on the fly.
Exactly right, learning on the fly. Yeah. Leon Edwards, I am just not convinced that he hasn't mentally checked out.
Yeah.
Skill-wise, Leon Edwards he's a better grappler. He's a better striker. He's more accurate. He's better all around. He's a former champion. I could give a 30-minute dissertation about why my pick is stupid here.
Right.
Nevertheless, I'm not going to do that. My pick is Carlos Prates, second round knockout.
Damn.
And he continues his win streak. I just think that there's a changing of the guard happening. I like Leon. Everybody hated Leon as a champion. I was never that guy. But, you know, I just think that Leon Edwards, there's something missing, that whether it's the fire, whether it's the hunger. You know, it was really hard for him to get on top of that mountain to begin with. It took his coach literally like saying, don't feel sorry for yourself and get out there and go do something.
Yeah.
Now he did it. I mean, his name is etched in stone and for forever.
Right.
Very few people ever become UFC champion, but I don't think he's got that get up and go to get back there again. So I'm taking Prates.
Yeah, Leon Edwards was a great fighter, and look, the win streak he had to get to the belt was kind of like Merab. They're like, all right, anything we can do to get this guy beat, anything we can do to get another guy in the title fight, but he became undeniable. He got his belt, he did his thing, and his reign came to an end. But opposite of like people like Volkanovski, this is what we see all the time. You get your outliers who can lose their title and then fight like hell to get another title, and then they wind up the champion again. But that's very rare. Most of the time we talk about it. If you climb Mount Everest once, are you really going to go do it again?
Yeah.
And if you do, is there the same enjoyment and pleasure that comes with it? No. And I believe,
or the same dedication to get there.
Right. Now, instead of doing it broke, you're doing it with millions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
So Leon Edwards has been there, and I believe he's the kind of guy who goes, I don't need to go be the world champion again, but I don't want to be some laughingstock. I don't want to be considered the worst champion in 170 history.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to be hard for him to avoid, especially because of how dominant some of the champs at 170 have been. But I think there's a real...
Yeah, I mean, you're in there with George St. Pierre, Kamaru Usman. Like, that's a tough, group to be in.
Exactly. So Leon does have his back against the wall, and I do feel like he has somewhat checked out. But I don't think he wants to be the main stepping stone for all guys emerging in the division. And that's sort of what it feels like, right? It's like if you beat Leon Edwards, you're moving up. And by the way, he's kind of half in, half out right now. It seems as though if the fight's not going his way, he sort of mentally checks out about midpoint through the fight, and then you can sort of just beat him because he doesn't even seem like he really wants to be there anymore. But you have to remember, Leon Edwards, somewhere deep inside of him, still has that competitive nature. And I don't think he wants to go on a continued losing streak.
Yeah.
I think he really wants to get himself a win back. And that means we're going to see a high IQ point striking fight for the most part. Carlos Prates always looks for the counters. He'll wait inside. He'll even eat a big shot just to make sure he lands his counter. And usually he's able to put some serious power on it. But against a guy like Leon Edwards, if you let him find his groove, especially on the outside, establish his jab, establish some leg kicks, and you're not doing much but waiting for the counter moments. We saw this against Ian Gary. Carlos Prates was not active enough. The third round was the most exciting because he finally started to push it, right? He almost caught Ian a couple times, I think, in that third round. But in the early parts of the fight, Carlos had nothing to do for Gary offensively because he was long, he knew how to stay away, and he knew that Carlos was going to wait for counters. If Leon knows the same thing, which I'm sure he does, he's got a great coach, he will know, all right, Carlos is going to be waiting for me to make a mistake, waiting for me to extend a little bit too far on one of these combinations, and he's going to crack. And he's going to throw a heavy two, or he's going to throw some sort of spin. He's going to put extra power on something, so I have to stay away. I believe what we see is Leon Edwards try to control the fight from the outside. Obviously, we're going to see pressure from Carlos Prates, but that pressure is sort of like Ilia Toporia's pressure, where it gets right in your face and then doesn't do a whole lot of offense and waits for you so he can counter.
Yeah.
It's a great style, and it's devastating if you can figure out the timing on it. But a guy like Leon Edwards knows how to evade strikers. He knows how to keep himself at bay and stay long. And then one other thing, this is the secret factor that I believe will be the difference in this fight. Leon Edwards has successfully taken down Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, Nate Diaz, for what that's worth, Bilal Muhammad. So we understand that Leon Edwards isn't just a striker that can't grapple. I believe he can take Carlos Prates down. As a matter of fact, I believe he will take Carlos Prates down, and I think he'll look to do it at about the 4-minute mark of every single round. I think he's going to point fight with the counter striker, be more active on volume. Now, the pressure is going to be a little bit different in the damage. I believe damage will go possibly to Prates, and cage control can go to Prates. But if Leon's volume outweighs those two things, then we're gonna see the pressure from Prates, which is going to lead to Leon Edwards closing the distance, taking his back. And if he can take down those guys I just listed, he can for sure take down Carlos Prates. I believe if he goes out there and rinse and repeat, point strikes into takedowns, finish the round on top, he will win this fight 30-27, Leon Edwards, unanimous decision.
I totally agree. Prates needs to bring the chaos. If he can make it a wild fight, he's going to have the advantage. If it's a technical, matchup, it's Leon all day. But let's move into the final fight on the main card.
Yeah.
Benoit Saint-Denis, Beneil Dariush. Both meaningful guys now at 155. Both guys getting back on their winning ways. BSD's on a 2-fight streak. Benny on a 1-fight streak. That win against Mauricio Rufy was a real statement like, hey, I'm back as far as BSD is concerned after losing that fight to Dustin Poirier. And it seems like he's kind of going back to what brought him to the dance in the first place, which is really high-level grappling and submissions. The problem is Beneil Dariush is a fine grappler himself and a very good scrambler.
Yeah, this is a great fight to start the main card. And I'm excited for this one because I know the scrambles are going to get wild. But Benny is a great grappler. BSD, he looked like a complete fighter, but now we realize he is best at submitting people. He is very powerful. It looks like he can squeeze the life out of his opponents when he gets on top. And I'm sure he's going to be looking for that because it's what won him his last fight. It's what, it just feels like if I'm going to win and I'm going to move towards the top of the division, I need to do it with what got me here, right?
Yeah.
And that's submissions. But again, Benny is a very high level grappler and submission ace. Now, if he catches a heel hook on BSD, is he going to snap it and is BSD not going to tap like Tony Ferguson didn't, and then he's going to have to resubmit him or something like that? I don't know. The way I see this fight playing out is Benny's a crafty guy, and even though he's a little bit older now, he's let the full gray just come out, guns a-blazing. But I like it. He's very good at being a disruptive striker. And even though he's mostly known for his grappling, he does actually do a lot of damage on the feet. And that sets up his grappling. Usually he's able to get some top control, and his flowing on top is very good. He's very, very good at staying on top like a wet blanket on top of his opponent. But BSD is a powerful guy. He's strong. He's younger. He's got a lot of things on his side of the tail of the tape against Benny, which is why I think, yes, we're going to see fun scrambles. Yes, we're going to see some cool grappling, maybe some submission attempts. But I think what ends up happening is their grappling cancels each other out towards the midpoint of the fight, later part of the fight. And then we're going to see BSD come on strong with some heavy hands. And Benny, he's long in the tooth. He's been in the UFC probably, 12 years by now. He's been in wars. He's had tough opposition year after year now in the UFC. I'm worried about his chin a little bit, and we know BSD can crack. So if this fight winds up being what I think it is, which is a lot of fun grappling in the early parts, a lot of scrambles, but then ultimately winds up being a slower, more, what do you call it? Flat-footed striking match, I believe that will benefit BSD. I see BSD winning this fight with a third-round TKO, either an elbow or a big punch to Beneil Dariush.
Yeah, I like him. I like him by finishing the third as well.
Yeah.
I can't decide whether I think submission or strike, so I'll just kind of combine the two and say it's going to be a ground and pound finish.
Okay.
So he's going to get the takedown. The pace is going to slow towards the second half of the fight. He's going to get Benny to the ground, be working and looking for submissions all the while. He's very active with his striking on the ground, which he has been in the past, and I think he's going to eventually get Benny out of there with strikes in the third round from the top position.
Yeah, it could go either way. I'm excited to see who takes over, but if Benny goes out there and isn't able to implement his striking like we've seen, BSD does tend to get a bit square at times. So if Benny can't throw some strikes, whether it's a push kick, teep kick, any sort of straight strikes down the middle to cause BSD to move backwards and maybe zap the gas tank, it could be an early night in the cage for Benny. But if he's able to keep the striking going, I do see it prolonging into the later rounds. But again, I think BSD has his confidence right now. I think Benny Dariush's day is just a little bit beyond him, and the young, hungry Frenchman is going to get one back in the win column.
There we go. Full breakdown and predictions of the main card. Guys, drop us your thoughts, your predictions. Let us know who you agree with on which fights and who you disagree with and why. We always love to chat with you guys in the comments, and we try to engage with every single person that comments on our videos. So thank you. Keep them coming and enjoy the fights.
Peace.